Fazza 60-year-old, queen the woman, taught him to love. He begins his tale in a hush of memory, where the world still searches for hints of his heart, yet the truth breathes quietly. In a realm only he visits a realm, shaped by a woman whose age became the crown of her wisdom and the warmth of her guidance. She was 60, and the world called her older, but he called her the keeper of calm, the teacher of depth, the queen, who shaped his own pulse into something gentle and strong. He had lived in palaces of gold and walked in gardens bright with desert roses, but none of those touched him like her presence touched him, for she carried a grace that years could not dim, a grace that lit his path with meaning. He remembers the moment he first saw her, not with the eyes of a prince, but with the eyes of a man who had grown tired of shallow voices. She stood at the edge of a quiet horizon, her hair touched with silver, reflecting the sun like strands of wisdom, her smile soft, her posture steady like a desert mountain that knows the storms yet never bows. He found himself drawn to her, not because she was beautiful in the way the world measures beauty, but because she was beautiful in the way time measures a soul. Her voice moved like the slow desert wind, shaping the dunes with patience, teaching him the art of listening, teaching him that love is not fire, it is foundation, not thunder but truth. She taught him that a heart does not live through youth alone, but through courage, through loyalty, through the willingness to stand firmly beside the one you choose, even when the world whispers doubts. And he learned that the strongest embrace never rushes, that the truest devotion does not shout, that the real kind of love carries silence, not emptiness, but comfort, a silence where hearts speak without sound. Others watched him and wondered how a prince who held the world in his hands could bow to the wisdom of a woman whose decades outnumbered his. They asked in quiet thoughts why he looked at her with such reverence, why he listened to her with such focus, why he followed the path lit by her steady steps. Yet he knew the answers long before their questions formed. He knew that she understood him not as a symbol, not as royalty, not as a legend, but as a man with fragile hopes and hidden wounds. She saw the places where he had broken and the places where he feared breaking again, and she touched those spaces, not to heal them instantly, but to remind him that healing has its own rhythm and its own dignity. He remembers her hands, the way they carried stories of years lived, the way they held peace, the way they rested on his own hands like a gentle blessing. He felt something inside him shift, something open, something surrender, not to her age, but to her spirit, her quiet courage, her refusal to let life harden her. She taught him that love is not youth. Love is depth. Love is devotion. Love grows stronger with time, not weaker, and that the heart becomes clearer, not colder as the years pass. He continued walking the path. She carved for him a path shaped not by royalty, but by quiet devotion, the kind that asks for nothing yet gives everything. In her presence he discovered a truth he had never touched before, the truth that love is not about time or age, but about connection, the kind that rises from the soul like dawn rising over the desert. She moved through his life with a calm rhythm, every step carrying the wisdom of years, every glance carrying a message no words could ever speak. He found himself changing not because she asked him to, but because her existence showed him a better way to breathe, a gentler way to stand, a deeper way to love. With her, he felt no need to perform, no need to hide, no need to protect the parts of himself the world believed were weaknesses. She accepted every shade of him, the bold, the soft, the uncertain, the strong. And in that acceptance he felt a freedom he had never tasted before. There were evenings when he would sit beside her, watching the endless sky stretch above them, a sky that felt like a mirror of everything he held inside. She would place her hand on his arm, not to claim him, not to console him, but simply to be with him in the quiet truth of the moment. He learned then that companionship is not about filling silence, but about sharing it. The world around them often tried to understand this connection that defied expectations. Some whispered that she was too old, some whispered that he was too young, some whispered that the gap between them was too wide to cross. But they did not know how he felt when she looked at him. They did not know how her presence steadied him. They did not know how she brought peace to the rooms of his heart that even he had left in darkness. She taught him that love is not measured by the years lived, but by the moments that change us. She taught him that the soul always knows what it needs, even when the world disagrees. She taught him that strength is not loud, and that real love does not require approval. There were nights when he would admit his deepest fears, the fear of losing her, the fear of disappointing her, the fear of never becoming the man he wished to be. She answered not with grand speeches, not with dramatic gestures, but with a soft presence that wrapped around him like a warm twilight breeze. Her eyes told him that he was enough, her voice told him that he was capable, her calm told him that he was not alone. In her 60 years, she had learned the art of loving without possession and guiding without control. She had learned how to lift someone without lifting her hand, how to inspire someone without speaking a single instruction. He admired that. He admired the way she walked through the world, steady and certain, the way she treated every person with dignity, the way she carried her own history without letting it harden her. Whenever he faltered, she gave him the kind of reassurance that lasts, not an instant, but a lifetime. Whenever he doubted himself, she reminded him of he understood one truth above all. Others, she was not a chapter in his story. She was the story, the quiet pulse at the center of every choice, every dream, every moment of clarity he ever found. Her 60 years never stood between them, for age could not measure the depth of her spirit nor limit the reach of her heart. Her presence held a power that time only strengthened, and he felt humbled each day to walk beside a woman whose soul carried such steady light. Often he would watch her in the early hours when the sun lifted itself slowly from the horizon, bathing the desert in soft gold. She seemed to belong to that light, calm, radiant, timeless, standing like a beacon that guided him toward the man he wished to become. She never needed a throne for him to call her queen, for her dignity was not granted by crowns, but shaped by the grace she carried within. He remembered the first time he fell truly, deeply, silently in love with her. It was not a grand moment, but a simple one, the kind the world overlooks. She had turned to him with a look so gentle that it reached the deepest corners of him and settled there like truth finding its rightful place. In that moment, he realized that love does not always roar. Sometimes it arrives like a whisper, soft, steady, undeniable. She touched his heart. Without reaching for it, she changed his direction. Without pushing him, she lifted him. Without letting him fall into dependence, he admired that balance with a reverence he could not fully explain. She gave him strength without taking his pride, gave him comfort without erasing his responsibility, gave him wisdom without dimming his own vision. When the world questioned them, she never flinched. She did not defend herself nor justify their bond, for she knew that the heart speaks in ways the world cannot interpret. Her calm steadiness taught him that love needs no permission, and that the only approval worth seeking is the one that comes from within. There were nights when he would look at her as she sat beside him reading or resting or simply breathing in the quiet air. He felt gratitude swell inside him, a gratitude so profound that it softened every sharp edge of his soul. He knew that life had given him a rare gift, the kind that only arrives once, the kind that changes everything, the kind that becomes destiny. He began to understand that she had taught him more than love. She had taught him patience. She had taught him humility. She had taught him how to see beyond the surface of things. Through her, he learned that every life contains seasons of pain and seasons of hope, and that real love embraces all those seasons without fear. She had lived long enough to know that devotion is not about promises, but about actions, not about perfection, but about effort, not about possession, but about presence. Her lessons shaped him, shaped his understanding, shaped his heart more than any teacher, palace, or journey ever had. As he walked through his life with her hand in his, he felt a quiet certainty take